What's good, everybody? It's your boy Big Nate. Welcome to Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book reviews. And today we are reviewing Sing Unburied Sing by Jesmyn Ward. So I got my doobie right here. It is ready to be sparked, and today we are smoking this one for Jesmyn Ward, JDIZZY'S. So if you got your doobie at home, go ahead and spark that, and then we're going to get right into it. So this book was published in 2017. This book was published in 2017 and it got the National Book Award. And Jesmyn Ward is the first woman and the first African American to have got the National Book Award twice. So big shout out to JDIZZY. Funny story about that actually too is a few months ago I was reading Pachinko, which I happen to be rereading right now, and I ain't even mad. And Pachinko is a National Book Award finalist, and I'm like, all right, whatever beat this book had better be fucking super hot, fire, amazing, because Pachinko is ridiculously good. And I looked it up and it was Sing Unburied Sing, but I didn't make the connection. So I'm like, all right, I gotta read that at some point. But I didn't make the connection, and I was reading it. I was reading Sing Unburied Sing, and I'm like, towards the beginning of the book, I was like, okay, yeah, boy, this book better have got the National Book Award. I'd have been pissed if it didn't. So that was funny, but I'm actually not sure how I feel about that. 100%. But anyway, this book is solid, and on top of that, actually, Obama said it was one of the top novels he read in 2017. So certified fire, simple as that. But yeah, I'm just gonna give a quick summary about what the book's about, and then I'll get into what I liked and did not like. So this book is about. So it follows the protagonist Jojo, who's a 13-year-old boy, kind of caring for his little sister, his baby sister Kayla. And their mom, Leonie, is black, and she is severely addicted to drugs. And their father, Michael, is white, and he is serving time in prison. So there's that. So it's kind of the kids, and they live with their grandparents on Leonie's side. So that's kind of like the setup, and like the plot trajectory of the story is that Michael is released from prison, Parchment Prison, which is a real prison, and we'll get into that in a bit. But he's released from prison, and Leonie takes the kids as well as one of her friends to go pick up Michael. So that's what the story is loosely about. So there is a lot I like in this book. So for one, the writing was just like fucking candy, like literary candy. I was blazing through this. I kind of take notes when I read now, and at multiple points I was like, imagery is off the fucking charts. Like, I swear to God, like, you do not go 2-3 sentences without reading some of the best imagery you ever seen in your life. Like, it was just blowing me away. I was like, literally my jaw was dropping. But I might be a little biased because this book was sort of, I feel like, tailor-made for me. So I might be a little biased, but I don't think so. It's like so fucking good. So there's that. And another thing I liked about this book is it's very unique. Like, it is like this literary smorgasbord, like different things. Like, so for one, it is Southern literature. This is like in the heart of rural Mississippi. The characters, Southern. The dialogue, the dialect, Southern. The food, Southern. The setting, the land, super Southern. And I've always had a soft spot for Southern literature in general. So that's this book is definitely very much that. And along with that, so I wouldn't say it's like full-on Southern Gothic. I would not really say that. But there are definitely elements of Gothic and dark literature in this book. Like, the first scene is Jojo and his grandfather slaughtering and skinning a goat, for crying out loud. So, like, there's that kind of stuff. And all throughout the book, there's just like puke, and there's sickness, and there's drugs, and you're just like, oh, this like dark and weird shit. And honestly, she does such a good job of making you feel like tense and uneasy, even though you can't quite place why. And to me, that is like signature Flannery O'Connor. That is what I love about her. And Jesmyn Ward, for this reason, is a very subtle writer. But like, there was one scene where they like pull off on a freeway, and there's like a house, like it's like one of these houses, like, you know, what the fuck is this even doing here kind of thing. And there's like an aggressive dog, but you know, the dog gets put inside, and then there's like this kid covered in snot, like unattended, just sitting there, like, and he has a stick and he's pretending it's like a gun, like pretending to shoot the car. And you know, there's not, and as that scene progresses too, especially, it's like there's not one thing particularly that stands out, but the overall feeling is like, we gotta get the fuck out of here ASAP. And like, so she nailed that, I thought. So on top of that, again, so this isn't Southern Gothic, and I wouldn't say this is full on magical realism either, but there are elements of it where they have in this story, there are ghosts. And the ghosts play a causal role on how the story takes place. They have like a causal influence. So it's very much a part of that story. And she does it really good. I have a soft spot for that kind of stuff. Anytime you blend like real type stuff with like just an element of the supernatural or the weird or whatever, I'm all for it. So I love that. And just like icing on the cake, cherry on top is, it takes place, it's like modern day. So like there's mention of Cheetos, and there's mention of Powerade, and there's Jordans, and there's basketball jerseys. Like there's, you just like put all of that together and it's just fucking awesome. Like, it's just such like a cool, unique story. So there's that. And what I like too is that, look, this is why you need to watch Big Nate's book reviews, home of the best book reviews, because this book relies on, in some part, it's got to be inspired by As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner, which I have a video on. But every chapter in here is titled according to the person whose perspective you're about to take. They're going on this long road trip full of trials and tribulations. And there is a matriarchal figure in the book who is bedridden and dying. So there's all of that. And I haven't read it, which is like, I'm pissed. I wish I should have already read this book. I don't know why I haven't read this book, but I'm going to very soon. Beloved by Toni Morrison. I get the idea that it involves ghosts. It's this idea of the past coming back to haunt the present. So there's that. And I think there's a few plot points in here related to Beloved as well. So there's that. And anyway, I just liked it. I just loved it. It was just such a cool book and such a cool reading experience, I thought. So on top of that, there are just so many good like themes in this book, and I don't have time to talk about all of them, unfortunately, but so I just like picked a couple of my favorite, but there's plenty more where that came from. So one idea that I've always loved is the transmission of culture through song and through story. So like this is reminiscent of Native American literature too, where it's like you have like JoJo's grandfather basically grew up right after slavery. So you have like disenfranchised, marginalized people, and it's like they don't have the means to thoroughly document their history. They don't have the means to have, like, there's no one writing them textbooks that are accurate and reflective of what's actually happened. Like that don't exist. They don't have the ability to do that. So they're innovative, and they use song and they use story to convey that information, to preserve the cultural and historical information. It's just like fire, just fire. And she does it, and it's a great example, like what this book is an example of that. So there's that. And another thing, which is like, this is what I mean by it was tailor-made for me, is like this idea of slavery, like in a historical context, how slavery was basically repackaged through prison labor. So Parchment Prison was like an actual prison. It started out as a plantation, and then after slavery ended, it became a prison. It was built on prison labor, and this system developed after slavery where it was the government, and they would basically lease out prisoners to private companies like mines and factories and plantations, and they would work the prisoners with no pay, hazardous conditions. They worked them like slaves, and technically everybody, but overwhelmingly black people, were starting to get arrested for like super minor things, because literally this was so profitable for both of them that they like literally needed more like bodies. So they would arrest people, or like they would arrest primarily black people for extremely like crazy small stuff, like just standing out or being out past a certain time was soliciting, it was loitering, it was being past curfew. In this book, JoJo's grandfather, his brother gets in a fight with a white dude, comes home, and they're both arrested, and he's arrested for like harboring a fugitive. So this is just an excellent example of that system taking place. So, and you still see remnants of this today. I swear, I used to I used to teach, I like volunteer and teach philosophy at two different prisons, and I heard some, like just through talking, I heard some crazy stories that happened to them, and they get paid like I feel like it was like $1. It was like it might even be less than $1 an hour. It's like basically they're making nothing. It's super fucked up, and I encourage anyone that's interested in that to like look up Michelle Alexander. I think she has some good work on this. And just like there's some documentaries and YouTube videos, and yeah, check this book out. That'd be a good start. So, but anyway, okay. I feel like I've said enough about what I liked about it. It's time for me to put the bad man cap on. So I'm gonna give this book an A minus, and I was even thinking B plus for a little bit, but personally I can't do anything less than an A minus. But to be honest, if you're anyone besides me, it could possibly be lower because like I said, I feel like this book was my cup of tea. So like there's no way I was not gonna like, she'd have to have really fucked up to for me to not like this book. The reason I'm even like saying any of that is I have like two main critiques. One is the plot was kind of like all over the place. Like there was all these moving parts that never quite clicked into place, or else they were left as like loose ends. And I feel like there was the plot and then there was the themes, and like they didn't always match up, and I would have liked to have seen the themes fleshed out a little bit more. And on top of that, the worst kind of the devastating critique is that there's like no character development in this book. The characters end basically who they were in the beginning. But you know what? There's something to be said. I mean, they do learn and they do change, and there's something to be said about even just using that as the structure for this story specifically. So yeah, despite the critiques, I would definitely recommend you pick this book up. I hear Salvage the Bones is even better. That was her first National Book Award, so I'm gonna get that. And a while ago, I was in a class for creative nonfiction, and we read one of her essays, which was an excerpt from Men We Reaped, and it was like one of my favorite pieces of the year, and that says stuck with me to this day. So I think I'm gonna get Men We Reaped ASAP. So anyway, thank you for watching Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book reviews.